Hi, before we get to this episode, a couple of spoiler warnings. So we do reference the end of It Chapter 1 at the beginning of this podcast, so spoiler warning for that. And we do reference a few weird things that happen in the book that don't happen in either of these movies. So if you're completely averse to either of those spoilers, fair warning.
Hi, I'm Dave, and you're listening to The Cinemile, the podcast where we walk home from the movies, me and my wife, Kathy. She's not here today. Kathy didn't want to come because she doesn't like horror movies or long movies, and this sort of hit the Venn diagram sweet spot.
Straight on the fucking nose, boy. Sorry, I'll stop swearing.
You can swear if you want. But actually, I asked Lee to come on it because you have a really dark and upsetting relationship with this.
Oh man, your
movie, right?
podcast isn't long enough for how messed up my head is because I nearly killed myself over this film when I was like 11 years old because it was so messed up. But the TV mini series, I nearly killed myself, and I was only saved by my mother. I nearly jumped out of my bedroom window because my sister threw in a pom-pom onto my bed at about 2 o'clock in the morning and then put a white glove around my door while I was screaming, going, "Go away, get away, oh my God, get away." Put a Girls Brigade white glove around the door and said, "Hey Lee, do you want a balloon? I'm going to kill you." And then I opened my door and I was ready to jump out onto the drive, like 20 foot down onto the drive, and my mum had to run in and say, "Right, stop it," like that. And I was like, I didn't sleep for about 3 days. That's just one of the like 5 or 6 times I've been messed up by the film. I still can't go to the toilet in the night without switching all the lights on. And this isn't just a funny bit of banter I'm doing for this podcast and that whole thing that does my head in about like everyone in the world now is scared of clowns. I'm not scared of clowns. I'm scared of Pennywise because he messed my entire childhood up. Like this isn't a funny bit. This is horrific. I don't even know why I'm here.
Oh, good banter.
Yeah.
Quality banter.
Anyway, subscribe, guys. like us on iTunes.
I regret inviting you. This is the darkest thing I've ever heard. Boy almost dies.
Myself, yeah.
Okay. No, that's horrifying. So are you? First of all, you okay, hon?
I think I'm okay. Yeah. I think I can handle McAvoy. It's Tim Curry.
You're not going to freak out on me in here, are you? Are you going to be cool?
I might do. We'll see, won't we? Isn't that the glory of the Cinemile? You never know what's going to happen.
I'm really worried about you now. All right. Brief. We are very late for this, so we're going to go in now.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
But very briefly, how did you feel about the first chapter of this remake?
Okay, I thought it was great. I thought it was really well made. I thought it was evocative. The only slight flaw I had, and I hate to put it up on it because the rest of it was brilliant and there was some really good scares in it, but the only flaw for me was that I felt Pennywise wasn't threatening enough. By the end of it, they were basically beating the shit out of him.
Sorry, go on.
Spoiler alert for the first part, but by the end of it, they were basically beating him up with pipes and bits of bat. And it just felt like that mythical thing of the Lucky Seven, which was imbued so well from the book, was just given a little bit too much power, and you never felt at any point that any of the losers were going to be harmed by Pennywise. I thought it shifted it too much onto Pennywise killing people in Derry as opposed to being able to... It just felt like they had a force field around them, and I'd like to see them be more vulnerable now as adults.
Which
they should be.
Extend that criticism for the whole of It Chapter 1 in that I never felt like those kids were in danger at any point. And I mean, obviously you know they're going to be adults in the next movie anyway.
Yeah.
However, it's like any of their encounters with it never really feel like they're under threat. They're just being scared.
No, and what you got in the miniseries was their encounters where it was basically Tim Curry taking the piss out of them, but at the same time you thought at any moment he could rip their throat out while they're on their own.
Yeah.
The only time he couldn't get to them was when they were all together, but in It Chapter 1, it just felt a little bit too much like they were all superheroes, and I'd like to see a bit more vulnerability as time withers them, and they come back being adults, and they lose that magic, and some of them stop believing. And I think it's going to be a lot more gory, and I think it's going to be a lot better. If I'm honest.
So you're excited. I pretty much echo your thoughts on the first one. We didn't do an episode on this podcast, but I watched it by myself late one night, and I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was really
still brilliant.
Really well put together. Like he's a great Pennywise.
Absolutely.
Bill Skarsgård, very creepy. The kids were well cast, particularly Beverly. I thought she stole the show.
Yeah.
And I thought all the effects and the way the CG was done was
it kind of wasn't too
accomplished.
much, kind of wasn't too little, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was interesting. It wasn't, however, scary. I didn't think it was very scary at any point. And maybe
there was a couple of bits that I could see if I was younger being freaked out. And what I quite respected about it was the novel's over 1,000 pages long, and yet they still made original things up in part one.
Yeah,
they made stuff up that wasn't in the book, which is like, fair play. Like, they're going to get slagged off anyway for, why don't you put this in, why don't you put that in? Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we just make something up? It's like, it's a film, it's not a book.
Why didn't you put the god turtle in there?
So, if that turtle doesn't turn up in this film, I'm walking out.
All right, let's head into this movie.
Yeah, let's go.
All right.
For 27 years, I dreamt of you. I craved you. I've missed you. We need to finish it. For good.
I've seen all of us die. It consumes us from the inside until we don't have a choice anymore.
You lied. And I died. You lied. And I died.
Hi, we're back. We've seen It Chapter 2. 4 hours and 39 minutes have passed since we last saw you.
18 hours and 46 days that film lasted
It's a TV miniseries brought to life on the big screen, longer than the TV miniseries.
For the first ever time a film on the big screen was longer than a TV miniseries.
Yeah. I don't know that for a fact, but I feel like it was.
No, the TV miniseries was 3 hours and 7 minutes. That was 2 hours 51. But
plus the other one.
Boy.
You got to add the two together, right? Sure.
Oh, you got to add them together. Yeah. Would anyone ever want to? I'm not sure.
Well, it has been double billed in a lot of places, so you can watch this back to back, chapter 1 and 2. We didn't do that. All right, let's set the scene.
I think that might have been a good idea.
First of all, caveat.
Dave thought that neck oil was... Dave thought that gamma ray was neck oil, so we had 3 pints of that. And
that was a lot stronger than I thought.
I've not got any, I'm very sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, okay. I made a mistake on the ABV of the beers, and we're a lot more drunk than I had intended us to be. And also, I've got to shout out Stephen Capegoat on Twitter, who basically goaded me into drinking during this performance.
Right.
Can we call it a performance?
A screening, I'd say. It's not a play, is it?
So I got to apologise to everybody for this, whatever this is going to be.
And also I snuck 2 rum and cokes in as well.
And also we're now outside some pub in Piccadilly Circus.
Yeah, and also I was drunk when I turned up.
All right. So many caveats. Right, okay. So I gotta say, this movie was long. It has problems, but I kind of really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I actually had a lot of fun. I'm judging from your bulging eyes that you don't agree with me.
I had a lot of fun because, like, I thought of some really funny things to say to you while we were watching it.
And a couple of them you did say to me.
I was nodding my head, going, "Yeah, that's good. That was good, man."
So you had more that you didn't say to me, but you were just nodding your head to yourself.
But you think I bought this Perfecto Silvine moleskin wallet?
So you had. Is that what you were writing? You were writing punchlines to jokes that only make sense in the moment.
No, I wasn't. I was just writing things. The artifact.
Like pick up laundry.
I mean, I was buy black bin
toilet
bags.
roll needed.
Yeah, buy black bin bags. Yeah, okay. Well, the first thing. I mean, I will say, excellently crafted film. But I honestly love films so much. I don't really like slagging them off. Like, I don't like going into a film and then coming out and just pissing all over it, because so much craft has gone into that film, and there was some amazing effects. Performances were really good and stuff, and whatever I think about the direction and all the rest of it, I mean, a lot of people would disagree with me, but I just thought it was really uneven. I thought it was too... There was so... It was like the Goonies. It was too funny. It was like laugh, 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 laugh. Cut to scary clown that isn't that scary. Cut back to these invincible guys who have come back to Derry. And they just weren't ever... Again, like, as I was saying at the start, in the first, like, babbling 2 minutes of this podcast, me saying... I loved the first film, and the reason I loved the first film is it was so evocative, and there's so much of that, like, youngsters and that kind of thing, like that bonding thing, which was so good about the book and about the miniseries and stuff. And the part where the miniseries fell down a little bit was the adult thing, but it always took it really seriously. You could never slag it off for taking a piss and then coming back and taking cheap shots and everyone being funny and that kind of thing. It's like literally there were like characters like running into Pennywise and then like just doing some like John McClane like one-liner. That was all it ever was. And then it cut to like Big Bill seeing his like dead brother with his face rotting off, and it's like you're winking at the audience and then you're going, oh no, here we go, we're into like a really serious bit. No, it just didn't really, it wasn't cogent in that way for me. Maybe it was for other people, and I'm not gonna like slag it off for that thing, because there's a lot of really good horror films that do comedy really well, but I think it is such a vast, epic, like horror narrative that yeah, you can have those little funny bits, but they're not all the way through. And it was just all the way through. It was like the Goonies.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. There were certainly moments that I felt that the horror was undercut by comedy during bits that were supposed to be purely scary. Because actually, for the most part, I thought Bill Hader's comedy and James Ranson, who played the hypochondriac guy, Ziggy from The Wire.
Yeah.
I thought their comedy moments were really welcome for the most part, and I thought both of those actors handled that really well. But I'm with you in that there's a time and a place, and when you're in the middle of a sort of, I'm going to say action sequence, because a lot of those horror quote unquote sequences were more action focused than horror.
Absolutely.
Don't you think? It was more like watching a PG-13 sort of adventure.
Yeah. It was like
I mean, you mentioned the Goonies.
It was like
Jumanji. Yeah. It's like tentacles flying out and spiders and oh my god, creepy crawlies. And like, how are we going to get away from them?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to get onto this yet because I wanted to talk about the performances a bit more, which, as you said, the guy who played Eddie Kaspbrak and Bill Hader, brilliant performances, but just, I mean, it was just every horrific scene was just undercut by a little funny line. It's like, no, this is horrible. This is like even like, and this isn't a spoiler because this is just one of many Flights of Fancy, which is another thing I had a bit of a problem with, where like a skateboard comes down the stairs towards James McAvoy's character, Big Bill, and Beverly says, oh my god, and he goes, yeah, I'm used to that now, I've been in Derry for a couple of hours. It's like, oh well, what's the point then? Well, what's the point? Like,
okay, I'm gonna pick up your strand of what's the point, and unpick my thoughts on this a bit, because what I struggled with during this movie was the same thing. What's the point? What's the outcome of this scene? And I don't understand the stakes. The reason being, the rules of all of this are never really explicitly made clear. And I've only read 100 pages of the book. I believe you've read the whole thing, so you know a lot bit more than I do.
I read it twice.
But I've read a lot of Stephen King. I've read all the Dark Towers, and that man is very imaginative, but it's very much just like, it's just like all this nonsense splurged out on a page, page after page after page, and it feels very unstructured a lot of the time. And it's almost like unbridled, uncontrolled genius is how I feel about Stephen King's writing. And I felt like some of that translated here, or at least they have a challenge, the filmmakers have a challenge with this, to try and make sense of 1,000 pages of as you said, horror lore, and how to make that make sense. Look, and so I'm watching these scenes and I'm like there's scene after scene after scene of basically the individuals getting attacked, say by the clown in horrific visual mental circumstances, but also it's undercut by the fact that, hey, none of this is real and it's all in your head, and if you don't believe, then it's okay. So I'm like, well, what is the threat? And there's a moment when occasionally physical threats do become real, and it's only in those moments. There's one moment with Bowers, as you mentioned. When Bowers comes into it, I'm like, oh, there's a real threat in this scene, and I'm engaged. And whenever Bowers wasn't there and it was Pennywise, it was like, I'm disengaged from suspense or threat, but I'm visually interested. As in, like, what's happening, you said it well earlier, craft. I'm like, the craft of what I'm seeing here is so beautifully put together, as in, like, the visual effects guys and the people who storyboarded these sequences. It's like there's a lot of creativity on display here, and this is the perfect time, as in 2018-19, to make these movies, as in you can bring this imagination of Stephen King to life, as in 1990 not so much. So yes, big tick to, like, I sat there and I enjoyed looking at all 2 hours and 50 minutes of this stuff, but I wasn't massively engaged, but I also wasn't bored. I was never bored. So that's kind of how I feel about this film as a whole.
I mean, look, it's, as we said, it's over 1,000 pages long, the book. Like, you could take 100 pages of that book and make it into a 3-hour-long film. Like, this whole thing about this Stephen King splurging of imagination onto a page and having no boundaries and all the rest of it, like, there are very clear boundaries in the book. They might be completely mental and slightly nebulous, but there are parameters there. Okay. Like, the whole point of it is that, like, he can be controlled and beat the fuck out of at the end of the film and at the end of the book. That's it. Like, but the whole thing.
But we don't get a sense of that until the.
No, exactly.
Kind of
that. I mean, what for me that film didn't do narratively was show that he was completely tangible all the time. Like, if you look at the mini-series, I mean, I'm biased because I love the mini-series, aka the 3-hour-long TV show. But when they first come back to Derry, they all have flashbacks, and you see how vulnerable they are. You see exactly what everyone's afraid of, and then you see Pennywise preying on that. But in this, they just all come back and immediately just go out and get pissed in a Chinese restaurant, which is what they do in the mini-series, and it's exactly what they do in the book as well. But you never have, and it just goes straight into kind of CGI, and I don't want to be that guy who says, oh yeah, CGI's a load of bollocks and all the rest of it, but everything that, like, the climax of the film and everything, it's almost like it's like Evil Dead or something, like someone drowning in a load of sand and then someone drowning in loads of blood, and it's like, well, what, like, and then all of a sudden you just go like that, and then you're out of it and you're somewhere else. There was no tangible lines made, whereas in the book and in the series there really are, and this clown can fucking eat you, and he can bite you, and he can scratch you, and he can consume you. But what I thought this second part was going to do was show that the clan was going to be able to eat loads of kids in Derry. I thought he'd go back into all the history of Derry and all the rest of it. All he did was like killed one kid right at the start of the film, and then for the rest of it he was just going, ooh, 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 Richie, oh, hello, ooh, just like having a load of balloons and like floating over the top of him and going, ooh,
all right.
ooh, hello, ooh. It was just like not threatening at all.
I'm with you. All right, let's get straight to spoiler straight here. So spoilers now for It Chapter 2 and 1, and let's just say the book as well, because I don't care about the book being spoiled, so you can spoil it.
I mean,
for me.
yeah, you're not going to spoil it.
I'm totally with you. The moment that really hit home for me, and I agree with the point you just made about him not feeling like a tangible being for 90% of the movie, and then at the end, is it Eddie, the hypochondriacs?
Eddie Cat, yeah.
Eddie's character has just, so that at the very end he said, I believe in this weapon, and he throws it through its mouth. Big moment, and he's staggered, and then he's standing over Bill Hader, and he's like, I did it. And then he gets stabbed through the chest by a tentacle of it in his spider form. And as at that moment my brain was like flipping, like doing math, like, wait, that's not real. Is this real? I don't know. Is that? And for about 10 minutes after that, I was like, he got thrown to the side, and then I was like, well, they're going to go down and realise, oh, that was all in their minds, because everything else is in their minds. And so I don't know. I didn't believe any of it.
But that was supposed to be the physical thing. The whole thing of that confrontation with the spider is, right, this is the physical form. We're going in, bang, this is it. Like,
but then I realised
I
realised that as soon as we realise he's dying, and he's actually dying, and there are stakes. But it's too. You're right. It's too late to introduce that in the movie, and also then it threw into question for me everything that had come before that, because then I'm like, wait, so he was in fucking full spider form and could have killed all of them at any time with a swipe of his giant tentacle, and he chose not to because he wanted to say, I'm so glad you're here.
Because they were too strong, man. Yeah. But I mean, the other big thing for me, I want to say, is like in the, I don't want to be a bore about in the book, but also in the miniseries.
No, people love when people lecture them about the book.
The story of it. Derry is like the main character, but you don't get
the main character.
Oh yeah, because it's say Maine and New England State. Yeah, good.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's the main character. Like,
the main character,
because it's a state in New England, and you just never got that in it. I don't think you did anyway.
Was that set in Maine? I thought it was set in a Hollywood backstage.
Yeah, well, that's what you would have thought, because it was very much like a set, pretty much. I mean, the miniseries I think was filmed in Columbia in Canada, but it was all like.
But they couldn't afford Maine.
The story is all about how Derry is like fucked, basically. It's part of it and it's part of Derry and all the rest of it, and it just seemed like it was just so, I don't know whether it's, I mean, I was thinking that when I was in there, I was thinking, this is such a 2019 film. It's just all about me. It's all about the characters just going, oh, but what does this mean to me? Oh my god, like, and everything was all about just like a personal confrontation and nothing extrapolated onto anyone else. Like, which is that thing, like that made-up thing about going and looking at artifacts and stuff like that. You have to get your own artifact.
Is that in the book?
You have to no. You have to like confront that yourself and all that. And it was just all about people on their own and confronting their own shit, which is like a big bit of the book, but a bigger part of the book is how they're the Losers Club, they confront him together. It's all about confronting Derry, confronting it together, this like huge nebulous thing that's threatening to kill them and everyone they love. But all it is in this is like just a really personal thing, and I just thought it was a little bit. It wasn't big. It just wasn't big at all.
No,
it was
and,
really.
And also, that's why the movie's so long, because they set out the MacGuffin stakes very early on. So we're gonna do a vision quest. We're gonna do a ritual, and we all gotta go off.
They do that ritual of Chud. They do that ritual of Chud in the film.
Okay,
but they just smoke loads in that little den.
Sure.
You know the little den that they shut themselves in. They smoke shit.
King was just having one.
Yeah.
All right, but the film is kind of bloated because you've got to have 6 characters find 6 totems in the middle of the movie and then come together at the end.
But you know what? The miniseries, which is 3 hours long, which does both parts in 3 hours, does that amazingly well. And the brilliant thing about that is that when they get so in this film, they get the phone calls, and within 10 minutes they're all at the Chinese restaurant. In the miniseries, they get the phone calls.
Within 10 minutes?
Well, 10 minutes in the film.
Oh yeah.
But then, yeah, they're not.
Whoa.
Yeah. But
I'm actually in Maine. I'm so glad you called.
Hello.
I'm actually outside the Chinese restaurant already. Are you inside?
I went to that Chinese restaurant that it was based on.
Oh, in Maine?
Jade Orient. In Bangor, which is where Stephen King lives now. I did the Stephen King tour. And I went down to the Barrens, and I went to the Standpipe, which wasn't involved in this film either. And I went to the Drain, where he eats Georgie, which is Jackson and Kansas, I think, in real life.
Oh yeah, and that was the exact street in the movie.
Yeah. I went there, man. It's well scary.
Nice. All right,
it's really weird.
If you're still not convinced by Lee's It and Stephen King credentials, check out our Twitter at the Cinemile, because I'll post a picture of what he's wearing right now.
Yeah.
You're all imagining a full clown suit, but it's just a badge that says the Losers Club.
And also, I'd like to also say, I was disappointed by that, but there's like a million different permutations of that film, so loads of people would love it. I personally didn't. I probably might appreciate it a bit more further down the line and all the rest of it, but
I
it's
actually
a great story.
I did
it's
enjoy
told in a slightly different way. I think you enjoyed it more than I did, actually. Like,
definitely did.
I just thought on a basic horror film that, like, as soon as I kind of made peace with the fact that, right, okay, it's not going to be as good as the miniseries, which, I mean, nothing is, but as soon as I made peace with that, I was like, okay, right, it would just be like a wicked horror film. But I just kind of thought, for me, it didn't really work as a horror film either.
Yeah,
I didn't jump at all. My sister, who is really hardcore with horror films, I always send her horror films to watch, and she always texts me back and goes, that was shit, that was crap, that was rubbish. Like, she's only been scared once by The Exorcist. She texted me earlier and said she jumped 5 times at that. I honestly didn't jump once, and I'm not hard at all. I'm not a hard man.
I jumped once at the dog. The dog turning into the monster got me. That was a bit of a jump.
Just everything was foregrounded. Everything, like, as it, like, directorially, everything was foregrounded. It was all like, that's my knife. Ugh. Like, it was just all like,
yeah. Look,
you just knew where you were going into it, because it was, oh, okay, we're going into a nightmare theme here, and they go into like a haunted house and all the rest of it, and then it just always went kind of.
See, I don't think you should treat this as a horror film, because I was watching this and thinking, this isn't a horror film. This is a big budget. This is not horror. It's horror writ large on a blockbuster budget action adventure setting. That's what this is. These two movies are the biggest horror movies of all time in terms of budget. In terms of box office, and they kind of reflect that. It's all set pieces after set pieces.
I mean, it should have been
showing
that.
off. But I did enjoy it on an entertainment level, and I thought that the actors turned in great performances. I thought that the subject matter is so batshit, and they stayed so relatively close to the batshit that for me, and you know the material a lot better than I do, so for me a lot of the material was relatively fresh.
But they made it more mental than it was in the book.
Oh, really? Because it was mental.
The first 25 minutes was them going, oh, and you know this, and you know that, and you know actually we need to do this because of the ritual of the chud, and remember these Native Americans and blah blah and all that. Like,
that's what I mean.
Series, they didn't do that. And they didn't explain that at all.
But I kind of like that. I like how I like that we just watched a record-breaking box office movie that millions of other people are watching, with huge budgets and special effects, and James McAvoy and Jessica Chastain, which involved...
Was James McAvoy in that?
Yeah, barely.
Was James McAvoy in that?
Which basically involved...
was James McAvoy in that? I need to ask you now, was James McAvoy in that?
He was definitely there for at least one scene.
Right.
There was an interdimensional being with like Indian rituals and an underground cellar who dressed like a clown. I'm just like, this is just batshit, and I'm kind of impressed that all that was committed to screen by hundreds of people, and that millions of people are watching it. So I kind of went with it.
I mean, I went with it loads, but
sorry, on the James McAvoy thing, I also
was James McAvoy in that?
I also appreciate that it wasn't the James McAvoy and Jessica Chastain show, which I expected it to be going in, and actually, the ensemble was like fairly even-handed. Like, I thought even Bill Hader and James Ranson got as much screen time.
I mean, again, this is my thing of like being an It fan, creeping into it. Like, Eddie Kaspbrak isn't a funny guy, made him a funny guy, and James McAvoy's character is like the main character, pretty much. Like, and he just wasn't in it at all. But the other thing,
he did feel a little sidelined.
But totally.
But then they've got 6 characters, and look, I'm not saying they made all the right choices in terms of the edit. I could sit in that edit room and tell them, like, just lose all the house scene building up, lose the fucking library scene, lose the fucking lumberjack man giant statue scene.
I thought it was really good.
Yeah,
those daylight horror films. But no, I don't think you can say they had 6 characters to build up in 6 hours, like, as an excuse. Like, come on, that's their job. He's a director. Yeah. It's a job. Like, have you seen The Wild Bunch?
I'm not saying they nailed that.
Like, but do you know what? I didn't see in the book. I didn't see in the miniseries that was in that film that, for me, broke. I've only got one rule in the film, and this broke that rule.
Don't say the name of the movie in the movie.
No, you do that. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. My only rule
is why we've gone with the wind. And that, my dear, is Casablanca.
He actually nearly says that. And that's the Maltese Falcon. I mean, they do say that as well. What do they not say in, like... They probably don't say double indemnity.
Let's get back to it.
Okay, right. Okay, so my number one rule of horror films is that it's never not funny when someone's on fire. Like, never.
God.
It's never not funny when someone's on fire. Like, you name me a film, and I challenge all Cinemile patrons and
Hereditary
listeners or whatever.
Hereditary.
Like, well, I've never seen it, but I bet you if someone's on fire, it's funny.
It was not funny.
No, I bet it's funny.
I guarantee
I bet you any money it's funny.
Go watch that movie.
Okay,
it's not funny.
I'll watch it. I bet you any money it's funny.
I will take that bet. I bet you.
Yeah, all right.
I will bet you.
Okay, yeah,
£10.
I'll watch it. I'll watch it tomorrow night. Yeah.
All right.
It's
okay.
it's never not funny.
We will update.
Yeah.
We'll update you all at the Cinemile on Twitter. Lee watching Hereditary. I want you to record yourself watching the scene where somebody's on fire.
I will be pissing myself because it's always funny. Like, that being it, when a woman sets fire to her head and starts running down a corridor, were you not going...
That was funny. Yeah, I'm not saying that wasn't funny. Yeah. That was funny.
Like, The Thing is funny. Like,
The Thing
Jason,
is one of the best comedies of all time.
2, it's funny. Everything... even Red Dragon, really horrible. Sets fire to a guy in a wheelchair and pushes him down a ramp. It's on fire in a wheelchair, handcuffed to a wheelchair. It's funny, man. Like, it's funny.
You okay, hon?
Yeah, I think it's really funny.
It's trauma that you experienced as a child has gone deeper than you realise.
I'll tell you what, it really has. I've got some more notes here.
All right, come on, let's wrap this thing up.
What have we got? Okay, the other thing I've got actually is
go on.
It's like they didn't really build up the characterization too much because they just went from one kind of horror-y scene to another, and then probably about 4 times in the film they just did some kind of David Gordon Green style, like glinty camera, montagey, music-y thing. And to be honest, I would like to see a film with all those guys and all the like narration about like, hey, it's good to be a loser, right? Yeah, but never forget you're a loser, right? All that, like, it's all like really nice. It's really nice. It's the best bits of the book. Like, I'd like to see a 90-minute film about them, just without that fucking clown. Like, he was kind of an afterthought. But not being him when he turns up as a big spider. The rest of it was like, he just turns up, hello, ooh, hello, Richie. Yeah, all right, mate. Yeah, I'm just off to the Derry Townhouse with our mates. And then like Eddie sees him, gets covered in blood, and then he just comes back, and they go, you all right? He goes, yeah, fine, yeah. It's just a total side character, like.
So you're proposing a remake of it without the clown?
Well, yeah. I mean, if they're going to do it like that, because Pennywise should be hanging
Stand
over.
By Me, right?
Exactly. Which do you see the bay windows at the end when he rang him at the end, Big Bill? The bay windows.
Oh yeah.
See that? Yeah.
Hello.
And also
Lost Boys reference poster.
No, Stand By Me reference.
There was a Lost Boys poster, I meant.
Oh yeah. Saw the Lost Boys. Yeah. And also at the start when they rang Ben Hanscom, when he rings him.
Yeah.
The guy who picks up the phone, I was like, that's Ben Hanscom, because I didn't really know who was in it. And then it switched to him on speakerphone. The guy who picked it up was the guy who played Ben Hanscom in the original.
Very
thing.
Good.
He definitely was.
That's
I
great.
mean, I'll have to check it, and I'll look like a twat if he's not. But like, he definitely was.
All right. Ooh. That's why we bring you along for the Easter egg. All right. Let's wrap it up there. Any final thoughts?
I don't know. I've got loads. I feel really bad.
I think you're disappointed.
Yeah.
You're disappointed.
No, I mean, I'm not. I'm glad it's on a big screen.
I actually quite enjoyed it. I don't know if I'd recommend like a cinema trip to this. I think you could just watch this in 2 parts at home.
I mean, again, again, it's an over 1,000-page book. They went the way with it that I wouldn't have gone, but I'm not a fucking director, am I? So I don't care. Like, great. You know? No, do you know what I mean? Like, everyone's a critic, aren't they?
I know.
Like, it was quite good. I just think it wasn't scary enough. If you're going to go all out scares and not characterise Derry as this like sword of Damocles over everyone, then you need to make the clown really scary. If you don't do that, then you need to make the relationships really good. And I don't think he did that. I just think it was all a bit kind of
trying to do too much.
Yeah.
And actually, it didn't dig into the lore enough. It kind of dipped its toe in with the daughter.
That's what I was looking forward to.
The daughter of the clown. My father was in the circus. So I was like, well, is that explained in the book? Because that made me hungry for a bit more.
No, I mean that's just a throwaway thing. Because the whole thing in the book is that like he's everywhere and he's anywhere. So that's just one little thing in the book. Bob Gray is in the circus, but
So is
he's
he
in like
like
loads
mimicking
of...
somebody who was a clown in the circus, or what?
No, I mean, Pennywise is an alien in the book.
Okay.
Like, it just crash lands on Earth and comes out every 27 years and does loads of stuff.
That was in the circus then? Is that
well, they call him Bob.
He
He calls himself Bob Gray sometimes in the book.
Right.
But obviously, you can go into him and go into anyone else. So
Bob Gray isn't real.
Bob Gray was probably real. Yeah, he
And
probably
he's
killed
pretending to
people
be
as
Bob Gray.
But that was just one of his many guises. Like.
Okay. Oh, okay.
But then there was a guy who like axed loads of people to death in a pub in like the 1800s. He wasn't him, but he probably got into his head somehow and did it. Like, do you know what I mean? He's just everywhere. Like, but in that film, they made out that was him.
All right. Let's leave it there.
Yeah.
before we give a blow by blow of the It novel.
Yeah.
We are at the Cinemile on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Thanks for listening. You can find us wherever there are podcasts. We are there. Please subscribe. Lee, where can they find you?
I hang out in Stroud Green. Right.
Yeah, Stroud
Mainly
Green.
Stroud Green.
During what time, roughly?
Like between kind of 9 and... I go to bed at like 9 these days.
PM?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm up,
so
yeah.
You're not like out all night on Stroud Green and then straight into bed at 9 a.m. Okay.
No.
That's the best plug we've ever had on this podcast. Shout out to
Legan.
Lee's house.
At Legan. Shout out to my house. Shout out to my 2 cats, Dante and Hera. I love you, motherfuckers.
All right.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening. Let us know what you thought of it.
Yeah, please do. I'd
Chapter
really.
2. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Let
one.
Lee know
and
when you
one
meet
as
him
well.
for a pint.
Yeah.